My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
All right, let me do this. So hello guys. So unfortunately, as you can see, we had to start a little earlier due to time constraints. And one match is still, well, not even one match. I guess Casadkina has finished, but oh no, doubles has finished too. Never mind then. Then just one match is going on. And that's actually a pretty big one. I mean, we were just not expecting Gael Monfils to put up this much of a fight, were we?
I think we were, Damien. Come on. French Open night match. We always knew there was going to be something in the tank, I think. I thought it was going to go 5. Genuinely. I thought it was going to go 5. Wishful thinking, maybe. I'm not going to claim that I'm some kind of soothsayer. And it probably was a little bit of a wishful think from me. But I'm glad to see it going 5. That's what it deserves. Definitely.
Well, still hasn't gone 5, but indeed 5-2 in the fourth for Gael. Yeah, personally, I was not considering that would go 5. I thought he was fried physically after that opening round. But anyway, since this is going on, let's first focus on some other stuff. Whatever the hell was today's biggest stories, which I guess would be all the like 2-set comebacks and not exactly the 2-set comebacks that almost were. So maybe let's start with the one that we have the title. So Alexander Bublik defeating Alex de Minaur, snapping that 5 quarterfinals streak as well for Demon. That was pretty huge.
Yeah, I mean the odds of Bublik winning from 2-2 down. Oh my god, that's it's not very Bublik-esque, is it? Grinding his way to a 2-set-to-love deficit at the French Open. I don't think anybody would have called that against a very informed player. It's great to see. I don't know what the hell happened actually, Damien. Honestly, like Bublik was all about the drop shots and just kind of looked a little bit all over the place in the first couple of sets, and then it's just not like him at all. I don't know what happened. Just honestly, I'm a little bit lost for words because it was the last thing I would have predicted. I don't know how you feel. Maybe there's been some changes, something in the winds, Damien, that you think Bublik had this in him, but for me, it's just completely out of nowhere.
I mean, it's not exactly out of nowhere, is it? He just won Turin and was obscene for the entire week as well at a very strong challenger. Obviously, there was a lot of bubliking in there, like a 0-6 set loss to Federico Arnaboldi, for example. So it's not like it was, just all bed of roses. It's never going to be like that with him. But yeah, since he started just like, I don't know, playing at full intensity, playing at full focus against Alex, there was not that much that the Australian could do. I think he was definitely quite fantastic there. And the backhand of his is just like such a big weapon in this matchup on clay. Alex can do nothing with his shots. Like, the fact that he doesn't have that much spin, power, quality, depth, obviously it came back to bite him kind of. And I mean, he was unplayable, Bublik. And we have, it's actually pretty funny, but he has 2 top 10 wins at slams and both of them at Roland Garros.
Really? I suppose Damien, in a way, de Minaur's almost there if you can hit the ball at your peak, and I guess we saw Bublik do it for 3 sets, which again I just wasn't expecting. Maybe yes, he was capable of it, and we all kind of knew that he's so good at his peak, but I still feel like it was out of nowhere. Very crazy stuff. Cool to see.
Why aren't we starting with WTA Nurlan? Good question. It's basically because I arrived here and I was not expecting to be kind of like hosting this. And I have absolutely zero idea what's happening. I thought Fergus was also going to be here. Anyway, let's talk about, if we started with the men's, let's go with the men's. If Draper and Monfils aren't finished, then it's, we're just going to figure it out on the fly. Anyway, I just said Menchik. I didn't mean to, but let's just talk about him now. And he had one of the more disappointing 2 sets to love up losses of the day for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think after his first round, a lot of people were very excited, very Menchik high, and fair enough. It's still maybe a surface where he gets found out a little bit. Obviously, very easy to say that in hindsight after Rocca's beaten. But if there's going to be a bit of an up and down, it's definitely on this surface for Menchik. So I wasn't seeing a deep run. The nature of the comeback obviously didn't predict that at all, or the win full stop. Still pretty out of nowhere for me as well. But yeah, he's a young guy. These kind of losses can happen. He'll learn from it, move on. I'm sure top 10's just around the corner at some point, Damien. What did you think about the match?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the surface though, right? I mean, it's 4 slams in a row that he has a very disappointing exit at a slam. It's 2 sets to love up at Wimbledon, 2 sets to love up in Australia, 2 sets to love up here. Perhaps the worst one, though, was actually 2-1 against Borges at the US Open and the match points he had there. Of course, also had match points against Davidovich Fokina in Australia. So this is just kind of happening to him every single time. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure these are just weaknesses to iron out. I also wasn't maybe like going full ham on him at the slam, just for the reasons you mentioned. But the win over Miller was very, very good in the opening round, and it seemed like Basilashvili was going to be maybe a bigger threat than Rocha. I don't remember if I picked Basilashvili to beat Menchik. I think I might have. I wouldn't have done it with Rocha, though. And, well, for 2 sets and a half, it was looking like the match was going to be over in 1.5 hours. So, yeah, I mean, that definitely was one of the upsets of the day, especially the way it transpired, but it also forms a bit of a pattern. There were, that's actually all the 2-set comebacks, but I suppose there was also something that almost was a 2 sets to love down comeback from Jaume Minaur and all the craziness that happened there.
Yeah, what am I? Could be match of the day for me. Pretty exciting. Loads of interesting kind of dips and peaks and troughs to the match, and Minaur definitely had his chances. Easily could have squeaked that. Again, it's kind of one of those matchups at this stage, arguably in Fisa's career, where if the surface is slow enough, he can get found out a little bit. And obviously, there was times where he really went off the boil for a little while, and Minaur really exploited him in that regard. But Fis really raised his level. I mean, it wasn't a Minaur loss for me. It was definitely a Fis win in a way. He was great and really good to see him like playing that kind of tennis. He did bring out he didn't rip his shirt, but he took his shirt off at the end. I'm not sure I'm a fan of that yet, Damien, for a post-match celebration. But otherwise, very clean performance. Not clean performance, very clean ending to the match. It was really, really good from him. How did you feel about the match?
Well, I mean, first of all, I guess it's a bit of a Pyrrhic victory because after this, I don't know how much he's going to have left for the 3rd round. And let's not even talk about the 4th round. I mean, Sinner, that doesn't look achievable to me right now. I mean, the back issue he had or maybe the cramps, as Minaur thought. But to me, I think it was clear it was a back issue. I mean, he was playing as stiff as possibly can be in the last 3 sets. There was this funny couple of points at 4-all in the 5th set. Yeah, when he misses at the same smash, like 3 points in a row. There's the same smash, 2 points, and I basically had to look if my stream maybe didn't go back for whatever reason. Like that was a shot that he absolutely could not hit with that issue. And he played casino tennis to get it done. Of course, you're right. There was more of a Fils win than Minaur loss. It's also how their play styles work. It's kind of like Bublik de Minaur in the same way, right? I mean, if Fils is hitting that kind of a peak ball, what exactly is Jaume supposed to do? But it is pretty brutal for the Spaniard for sure. I mean, 0-11 in Grand Slam second rounds. This was definitely the best opportunity he had, even though he was already 2-love on Schwartzman maybe back in the day. But then didn't really compete in the next few.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm actually a bit of a Minaur fan, despite the fact that he's a little salty and people maybe give him a bit of stick for that. I like him. I really like his kind of horribly grindy, just will not give a 3-point kind of tennis. I was a little gutted to see him lose, actually. For the reasons you mentioned, he's kind of due a little bit of a big result. Often has these kind of results where he came close, didn't quite make it, and it's a bit of a shame. So.
Yeah, we also had Zverev dropping the opening set to Jesper de Jong. Was it a scare or not? And I'm actually referencing something from yesterday because we were doing the last ball drops, and in the ticker that we also have here, which I actually don't know if it should be running. I don't know if it's updated or not. But anyway, I guess it's from Thursday, so it should be fine. But what I'm trying to say is that John put something like, Alcaraz survives a scare against Marozsan, and I basically went on a rant that this was not a scare. And I guess this match kind of falls into the similar categories, Zverev against De Jong.
Yeah, it does depend on the player, I guess, in a way. I kind of get it with Zverev. It's a bit more of a scare, actually, because he very often finds himself in these sticky situations early in slams. Where Alcaraz, he kind of thought, it's just going to take him a matter of time to get up and running, basically. So I agree. I think it depends on the player, but even first set drop for most players, it's not quite terrifying at that point, I would say.
So how was it with Zverev today? Was that a scare?
I think that was a bit of a scare, yeah. I still would have expected him to, even if he dropped the second set, he has these ways of kind of digging out a kind of gritty first or second round win, and then tends to go fairly deep in the tournament. So I didn't really expect him to lose, but I thought it could have got quite tight. So, you never know. Who's he got next? Teammate out of interest,
Flavio Cobolli.
Flavio Cobolli, so that could be interesting. The thing is, Zverev early in slams, if he doesn't get up and running, he's there for the taking, and a player like Cobolli, who knows, could happen.
It's definitely the first test. I think the next one might come against Talon Hrikspor, who defeated the conqueror of Francisco Cerundolo today, so Gabriel Diallo. Last year, obviously, there was a big one between Hrikspor and Zverev on these courts, 4-1 in the fifth set with a double break. So, yeah, I think the easy part of Zverev's tournament is over. Now it's going to be somebody who can, touch him at least every single round. But yeah, today I also wouldn't call it a scare. I saw that I honestly didn't even barely watch it. Like I saw that Jesper took the opening set, but I was just thinking that's probably going to crash really soon. And yeah, that's exactly what it was. Of course, Ghosty already was laughing at me earlier that his Italian is better than my Italian, and that was a reference to Cobolli defeating Arnaldi. Did you catch any of that? I mean, certainly less exciting than I was expecting it to be.
No, I didn't get to catch any of that match. So it was a bit of a damp squib. Was there not much fireworks or anything like that? I would have thought Arnaldi might have given it a bit more of a fight, but by the sounds of it,
the third set was, the fight was there in the third set. Flavio was already serving for it, and Matteo took the breaker. Somebody texted me that Arnaldi played like a coward today. I don't know if I would fully agree, but it wasn't his brightest day in the office. No. I think technically for the next round, like it doesn't really matter. Zverev playing against Cobolli or Arnaldi, it's kind of the same. I mean, I think they have pretty similar rankings, pretty similar seedings. So yeah. I'm not really sure who's the player who would give us a better performance in the next round. Like it really is a form of the day thing for me. Somebody who will not be giving us any sort of performances from here, unfortunately, or fortunately, if somebody doesn't like him, I don't know, is Richard Gasquet, who retired today against Yannick Sinner. I guess he deserves, a bit of a longer mention here for sure. So let's maybe talk first about like the match in itself, as a send-off. How, was this acceptable? It was a bagel set, but the other two are, I guess, fine.
Yeah, I mean, he did a good enough job. He was never winning it. I think he actually had mentioned the prospect of going out to the best player in the world. It was almost quite a fitting send-off. He quite likes the idea of that. And I agree, he's not going to win that match. And he did an okay job of keeping up with Sinner at times. There's not much more to say about the match. I think more about kind of Gasquet in general. It's so cool to see him, like so many of like Le Monf right now. I'm just checking that. It's back to Juice. So many of these guys just go so late into their careers and playing decent tennis. It's hard to argue that Gasquet wasn't one of those guys that was there or thereabouts back in the day. So it's a shame to see him go. And he was almost quite quietly just plodding along with his career. Quite a lot of these guys do that, the kind of Batista Aguas of the world and stuff like that, just getting on with it, even if they're not getting the results they used to. And it's so commendable. I think people kind of forget that, and they don't really fall in love with the vets of the game, maybe as much as I do, Damien. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Depends. I can definitely fall out of love with the vets of the game. Like there's like a bit of a breaking point for me with most of them, where I'm just like, okay, yeah, I mean, you're clearly not achieving anything from here, and like, why would I be interested in you anymore? Because yeah, there's nothing to look forward to. And it was like that with Gasquet for me for a while, for sure. Well, it's just like, yeah, okay, he's playing. He's part of the tour. He's making up the numbers, but the good times are gone. So maybe, yeah, like in the broader picture, like, okay, he's retired now. When you're gonna be thinking about Richard Gasquet in about a year, what is it that's gonna be on your mind?
I mean, the one-hander. What else would it be? I don't know. Like, probably longevity is a little like asterisk. He still feels like that guy who was just there all. I mean, he's been there for basically 20 years now. But no, the one-hander, still a thing of beauty. I must be up there with you, Damien. Surely it must touch your heart, warm your heart a little bit. Surely, I mean, the Fed fan in you must love watching it. No.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, he's an artist of the sport, undeniably. I think when I first watched him live in like 2020, it was a very amazing experience. He was playing Michael Immer in Marseille, and I just remember being just shocked by how aesthetically pleasing it all was. I'm not saying he wasn't good to watch on TV. Like the last Grand Slam semifinal run he had was definitely very enjoyable with the win over Stan at Wimbledon 2015. But yeah, I mean, live was another cup of tea. Of course, yeah, longevity you mentioned. I pretty much wrote a tweet today about him just to mention that Challenger stats, that he's in the top 3 youngest and top 3 oldest champions of that tour. I think could have been knocked out recently until if Stan won Aix-en-Provence, actually. But anyway, for now he stays in with that amazing stat that just shows you how long he's been there. Even just thinking about the 2 level wins, 2002 was the first one, so 23 years basically of winning on the ATP tour. I think as a send off, I wouldn't really disagree with anything you said. Just winning around was already a lot. I think that was already something that made it like worth it, to have this farewell here. If he lost to Atman in like 3 sets, yeah, maybe that's when I would be like a bit of a yuck feeling. But here, 7 games against Sinner, even if one of the sets was a bagel, I just don't think he could have done much more. I don't think he could have done better realistically. So yeah, I'm definitely fine with that. And yeah, the one-hander is also what I'm gonna be thinking of, really. Out of the Musketeers, I guess he didn't quite have the potential of like Tsonga or Monfils, but yeah, they were all amazing. And now only one stands, and in fact is also playing right now.
He still stands as well. He's 30-5 at the moment, so it's almost turning into a Monfils Draper watch along. But I am keeping one.
Even the live scoring in my house is faster, and I already see there's a breakpoint coming for Jack. So Kyle has to be cautious there, that's for sure. And Ghosty is definitely pleased with the quality of his volley, apparently. What else was there? Fonseca Herbert was kind of competitive, actually. I mean, at the Australian Open, Fonseca posts a big win in the opening round, doesn't follow it up. There was a brief moment of danger here.
Absolutely, yeah. Herbert played great. I love watching Herbert, of course. Very, very lovely game style for me to watch. I really enjoy it. It's kind of stuff I wish I could do, and obviously it's just insane watching it on a single court. But yeah, Fonseca didn't deal with it as well as maybe we would have expected at first. Maybe not quite as accurate in those passes as he could be. Maybe just a little bit off today in some departments. And Herbert had him on the ropes a few times, and yeah, could have squeaked a set. Could have squeaked a second set. I don't know. Yeah, good. It's quite good gritty win for Fonseca though. The kind of thing that to get through in straight sets was very, very impressive. Maybe testament to Fonseca because Herbert really pushed him. Sometimes those little wins kind of are a blessing in disguise, because now he's kind of worked himself a little bit more into form. You'll feel a bit more confident for the third round, having survived a scare. Maybe, I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, we might get to talk about Fonseca's third round in a moment when this match is over, right? Because that's the opponent that he's going to face. And I guess with Jack, there's a lot of history already, even though it was just one match. And that history kind of will, let's say, mostly decide how we view their next encounter. But yeah, I mean, I think it was especially important for him to just get through this. And I was not expecting Herbert to be this much of a problem for him. But because of how unique that style also is, like, I'm not really sure how to treat this going forward. Obviously, Fonseca didn't have the best like warm-up swing either. So his level against Hurkacz was a bit of a surprise. Now it's all about whether he can actually repeat that or not. A very interesting stylistically matchup as well was definitely Mute against Djokovic, but well, in the end, it's another straight set win for Novak, whose tournament like could not really be going any better for him, I suppose. Especially like even the entire section he's in, like it's currently kind of impossible to think Novak is losing before like the quarters.
Yeah, pretty classic Novak things in a way. He has actually had a lot of spotty kind of first, second rounds in slams recently. So to see him get through in straight sets both times was fairly un-Novak. There is obviously the absence of a certain coach that I'm sure is filling him with confidence now somehow. It's just, obviously he'll be very happy to get through in the way he did. Maybe he might, in a similar way to Fonseca, maybe he might want a kind of more of a test against a player that's a bit of a bigger hitter, somebody that'll kind of get him a bit more up to speed with the new guys on the block, just in case he comes into a semi-final or something a bit cold. That's my only thoughts. Otherwise, obviously, I'm sure he's not complaining. It's been a very tidy first two rounds.
Yeah, I think, John, the draw for Djokovic like could not be better, and it's not how it's transpired as well, because it also is getting better with like the seeds falling out, Shapovalov losing to Misolic, and Nori beating Medvedev. But even with these seeds in, like Novak's quarter was so good that like for him not to make the quarters, if that didn't happen, then I don't think he was ever making it, because that was literally the easiest he could have gotten. Although, of course, there are bigger challenges ahead. So in the long run, I'm not sure it will matter. We will see. Well, just as Draper breaks to serve for the match, I thought of actually talking about the Brits, because this was a pretty good day for them. That's for sure. And
I can't remember the last time we had 3 Brits in the third round of the French Open. That is
pretty sure that never happened.
Yeah, I don't know about another time it's happened, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's never happened. Yeah, obviously Fernley against Humbert, a bit of a shame how that one ended. Humbert going over his ankle and unable to continue after playing for a few points. But saying that, Fernley played really well for the set. Obviously it doesn't really matter how well he played for a set, because the retirement probably would have happened either way. But you can see how well he was playing in the first round. He playing really well in the second round. Who's he got in the third, please, Damien?
Who? Come again?
Jacob Fernley. Who's he got in the third round?
Nori.
He's got Nori. I didn't realise that. There we go. But we can talk about Nori as well. Obviously, having come through his blockbuster first round, he had a pretty tidy match against Gomez. Should have been winning that every time, of course. Yeah, who have you got for the fourth round? Because actually, the two of them are playing well. You would probably have said Cam on paper, but I rate the way Jacob's playing. Yeah, I could see the upset happening. I don't know how you feel about it, Damien.
Yeah, it would barely be an upset, to be honest. I haven't checked what the odds are for that match, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're like close to even. Yeah. Well, definitely, as I said in a tweet, a Brit who played for TCU. I think that's who's gonna win. And like that's really all you can say. I think I have zero interest in that match, to be honest. A Brit will win, a Brit will lose. So it's kind of like it doesn't really matter for me. It doesn't impact my life in any way. But yeah, Fernley is even the slight favorite according to the odds.
Oh, there we
I
go.
just checked. I wasn't listening to you, as you probably noticed, for a second, because I was looking for that stat that you mentioned about the Brits and French Open, because I thought I saw it somewhere, and perhaps I have, but I couldn't find it in this short amount of time. But either way, yes, Fernley and Nori into the third round. Maybe soon we're going to have Draper, and then we're going to talk about him, but he is still 2 points away on my screen. So for now, there's also Ethan Quinn beating Shevchenko in a 5-set battle, and Filip Misolic beating Shapovalov in a 5-set battle. Of course, both of these were qualifiers. Quinn is on the verge of making the top 100. Misolic had this bit of a golden opportunity to make the third round, took it. Anything on either of these guys?
Quinn, obviously you must have had your eye on Quinn for a little while. I feel like that's kind of been brewing for quite a bit of time. Obviously, the quality and the peak in his game has got higher and higher over time, and I'm sure you are not too surprised to see him in the third round of a slam.
I mean, I picked him to make this third round of a slam, but if you told me like 6 months ago that Ethan Quinn was going to be in the third round of a slam and at Roland Garros, I probably would have laughed. But yeah, I mean, he's had a good clay season and definitely made a ton of progress over the last 6 months. Basically had this like one crazy challenger run at the end of last year, and you're starting to think, oh, is he going to be able to maintain it? And turns out that yes, absolutely, this is his new base level, and he's been doing that all year. And yeah, Misolic is also in the form of his life, so absolutely fantastic for him to take this chance. Gonna play Djokovic, gonna be very difficult, but at least he can play this one a little pressure-free, I would assume. And we do have Jack Draper into the third round right now, so that leaves us 2 more topics, I suppose, which is, well, Jack Draper thus far in the event, and then also how do you see his match against Joao Fonseca in the third round?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I actually didn't get to see much of the Monfils match, Damon. I don't know if you can kind of clue me in on exactly what happened.
No, not really. I barely watched it. I was like, well, this isn't going to be too competitive because Gael is just going to die physically. Well, clearly, was true, but it was way later than I thought.
I think Draper probably, compared to like Madrid, for example, yes, he's getting better on clay, but obviously the benefits of somewhere like Madrid are going to see him in the final. But when it does get a bit slower, it's a little trickier. And for a player like Monfils to still be grinding against him nowadays, and obviously had a bit of a trickier round, even in he had a bit of a scare in the first round against Bellucci, dropping 1 set, of course, maybe not a scare. He is vulnerable. He's vulnerable compared to probably every other surface. He probably would still prefer to have the ball going a little faster through the court. So it'll be an interesting third round. What are you thinking about the third round, Damien?
Yeah, I mean, I already watched one encounter between Fonseca and Draper where, they were okay for like 4-all. And then Draper forces Fonseca to start making countless errors, really. I mean, Draper's defense was ridiculous. Is it going to be quite as good as it was in Indian Wells and clay? That's maybe the question, I suppose. Like, does this surface give Fonseca more of a chance to hit through Draper, even though it's slow? Well, is it slower than Indian Wells? I guess it's similar speed. But...
Probably. I still think the forehand's the biggest weapon on the court. Yeah, at its best. Depends how he's playing. But
I don't know. I've already seen this, and I'm not feeling too confident for Fonseca. I'm like, I have to see it first to believe it, because Indian Wells was just, I don't even think he was playing poorly. I think he literally was just like, his margins, the space that he could hit into it was so slim that everybody would make errors. So if Jack is able to do that in the longer format,
I think probably Draper in 4.
Sounds good to me. I think.
Draper obviously still playing with plenty of confidence, even if the surface is a bit sore. I think he'll win it. I kind of more a bit like I don't expect Draper to be semi-finals onwards. Is my feeling.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I felt about him as well. About the dinosaurs, Nurlan, I don't know. Depends on the species. I think there were some that were, just like more, meat oriented, and some ate leaves, herbivores or whatever. So yeah, I suppose that if we like eliminated certain species and kept the ones we could coexist with, I think it would have been possible. Yes. Anyway, I think this closes out the men's matches for us more or less. I think there are like maybe 2 winners we didn't mention, just like Lahechka and
Yeah, I've still got my eye on Lahechka. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, Rublev as well. I mean, he just had such an easy win against Walton. But then again, there were so many like talking points on the men's side, and I think again, a lot of this like boils down to the it comes down to the best of 5 format, because so many memorable matches today, whereas I just did not feel that on the women's side whatsoever. So we're probably just gonna be talking about it in a bit of a different manner as well. Honestly, I'm not even sure what's the biggest story of the day. Badosa playing Ruse, well, either other way around. Ruse playing Badosa so close again after the US Open.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's maybe one of the biggest stories. Badosa still continuing her resurgence. It was a good match. I saw the highlights at least anyway. I suppose that doesn't tell the whole story. I don't know if was there ins and outs to the match, Damien, that make it look closer than the scoreline suggests. It's still pretty close, but I don't know. Did Rusa have loads of chances or something?
I don't know. I watched their US Open match pretty much from start to finish, not today. At the US Open, Rusa was like really dominating over the baseline. But also was just barely trying to survive, and well, in the end, obviously did. I think there's been a number of matches like this for Rusa over the course of her career, even going back to 2018 at Wimbledon against Radwanska, that was kind of similar too. So it's a bit of a shame that she just can't get that one, where everything is coming together, and then she also picks up the win. Just looking at the stats, I suppose that probably was pretty similar to their match in New York. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, in terms of the Brits, not quite as good as on the women's side, I suppose.
Not much of a surprise there, I would say. Again, both are not the most clay adept. Keys probably always the fairly heavy favourite there. So not much of a surprise. And Cartal, yes, she's been playing better, but she's had a little bit of a run of form. But yeah, I actually thought that one was winnable. Yes, Buska was pretty good, but she does give you chances. And maybe, again, probably wishful thinking. I think Cartal's maybe slightly punching above her weight, trying to get into the third round of a slam. I'm not saying she's playing terribly, but she's maybe just got a little bit of a limit to how well she can play. So, yeah. But
and are you claiming Joanna Garland?
Johanna Garland? What? Who's Joanna Garland?
She played in the second round of French Open today. She is half British and half Taiwanese, but she plays for Chinese Taipei.
I didn't know that. No, I'm not claiming Joanna Garland, I guess.
She still lost, but she had a good tournament, obviously, coming from the qualies. Very good record on the ITF Tour this year.
Who is Joanna Garland? I've not even heard of her.
She literally played.
Where did she popped up from?
No, I mean she's been there for a while. I don't know if she ever represented Great Britain, but I definitely knew that she is half British. So, yeah, I'm not. Maybe she represented Britain at some point. I'm not sure.
Right, okay.
No, I guess not. Just now that I'm trying to look it up, I think she's always played for Chinese Taipei then. But yeah, I mean she's been around for a while. Obviously not at slams. I believe this is her main draw debut at a slam. But yeah, in the top 200 now. Had a very good tournament. Lost to Putin Seva today. Yeah, so otherwise,
I suppose there was a big crash out from Krejcikova to Kudermetova. 6-love, 6-3. Obviously, the former French Open champion probably would have wanted to do a little better than that. Yeah, oh my God, that's some result. I just never, ever, ever would have called that. I would have said the matchup was pretty good for Kuchikova. I would have said the surface was in her favour.
Yeah, but she hasn't. Yeah, she's barely played.
I know. I'm still like flabbergasted at 6-love 6-3.
Yeah, I mean, that's not what we were used to in that matchup, considering their Wimbledon clash, which obviously ended up giving us the title winner in the end. So that was quite insane. But I guess as a whole, there were a few of these like often injured Czech players. Muchova lost to Parks in the opening round, but also Vondroušová, who is progressing. She bageled Magdalena Frank and somehow beat her as well, because I think in the last year or so, Frank has won more matches than she lost when she lost the opening set in a bagel or something like that. So the magic was almost in there. But, of course, Vondroušová has a little bit more tennis ability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like seeing Vondroušová play in general. I'm pretty happy that she's got through. Again, Vondroušová fan for sure. I think she has been robbed, not of a French Open title, but well, I don't know actually. She had if there was, I would be trading that Wimbledon title for a French Open title. That's definitely Vondroušová.
But what do you mean by robbed of a French Open?
She's not been robbed. That's not true. But I just
if Ashley Barty never existed,
yeah, that's true. She was always losing to Ash Barty. But I more mean every time I talk about Vondroušová as a Grand Slam champion, I'm like, oh yeah, of course, yeah, she won the French Open. And I'm like, no, she didn't win the French Open. What on earth happened? Anyway, I'd love to see a nice deep run from Vondroušová. At least one Czech player, and doesn't have to play injured tennis, as you say. So hopefully we get a nice deep run from her. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, obviously, agree with you about that French thing. I think it was that entire clay season of 2023. We were just picking Vondroušová to do well at every single event and thinking that she was gonna. Now at Roland Garros she makes the semis at least for sure. And then she lost in the second round to Kasatkina, I think, and she wins Wimbledon. So yeah. Obviously it was wild. And maybe that French Open title is still coming to her. I don't think this week, or this fortnight, but we will see. Someone who might have a French Open title coming to her, though, also played at 11 a.m., and that was Mirza Andreeva.
Yeah, so I had my eye on as well. Yep, pretty steady stuff. Not much to complain about there. The kind of performance that she could do that a bunch of times in a row. Didn't have to do anything too crazy. Pretty safe stuff for Andreeva. Tidy is what I would call it. So yeah, I would like to see her deep in this tournament. That would be amazing. Who would I need to see the draw. I'm not putting it down on the draw. Who would our semi-finalist be, Damon, if she did manage? Coco Gauff. That would be great. That would be a fantastic match. I think Gauff actually had a pretty tidy performance today as well. Although maybe not quite as experienced as Kruger, Valentova, but still, good win.
That's kind of the problem of this event so far on the women's side, that they're all having tidy performances. I think somebody maybe 20 minutes ago in the chat said that he hopes that tomorrow finally we're going to have some upsets. And looking at the slates today, that's another part of why I just don't really. I don't think in a week I'm going to remember any of these matches today on the women's side. Well, first of all, I am an advocate for best of 5 in both competitions. Maybe it's crazy, but again, as you can see by this show, even by this show, you can see how much the stories, the narratives that are coming out of men's matches today, and then the women's, and it's oh yeah, Andreeva won 6-3, 6-4. Oh yeah, Gauff won 6-2, 6-4, and every single match is like that pretty much.
Yeah, totally agreed. A little bit more on maybe there'll be some interesting, exciting matches tomorrow. There's definitely ones we can kind of touch on.
I mean, I'm trying to get there in 5 minutes, maybe.
I think I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what else there is to stretch out. Yeah, okay, I guess we've got Kenin.
I know your feeling, because I was exactly just thinking, oh yeah, so maybe let's 5 more minutes on the women's matches, and then we can move on, because clearly we're gonna get more out of talking of what's tomorrow rather than here. But literally, there's no stories here. Boison winning again, that's good. But Kalinina, she was also like outside the top 100. But that's quite an amazing narrative as a whole. That Boison had that wildcard locked up last year and got injured. She couldn't take it, and now she's back with such a big run. But again, it's not like the match was really that interesting. Unless you watched Buzas Maneiro against Montgomery, I suppose today was just really a Ruse Badosa day, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, I agree. It's cool to see quite a few of these players through, like Kasatkina, potentially causing some drama, hopefully. And then I guess former Slam champion Kenin also through. But yeah, so it's all just like little footnotes of what's actually happened rather than the stories of the matches, Damien. As you say, it's not the most exciting day for the women's tournament, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think with that, we indeed will just talk about what's to come tomorrow. Of course, it's the first day of the third round. We're going to have the top half for the women's event and the bottom half of the men's. Because we just spent not enough time on the women's, let's just talk about them first. And I think this is where we might finally get some crackers. In fact, I would say out of these 8 matches that I see here, at least 3 I really want to watch, and I'd even push it to 4. And they're really amazing. Like, this is where the women's event should really like come alive.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, Rebecca and Ostapenko, I'd imagine you'd want to watch that.
Absolutely.
That'll be very exciting. Yeah, who knows? Never, ever, ever predict an Ostapenko match. I'm sure we've all learned that. And Tauson Anisimova will be great. That might be my pick, actually. We're finally seeing Tauson coming home to roost. It did take a while, but it looks like she's on the tour and she's ready to rumble. And I might even call the win there. Again, calling it an upset. Don't know. Maybe Anisimova is probably the favourite, 60-40 or so. But I think Tauson hopefully gets the win there.
I think what's really nice about these matches, so Tauson, Anisimova, and Rybakina, Ostapenko, is also that they're likely gonna be like giving the top seeds in the next round a really tough challenge. Yeah. Tauson, Anisimova, they both have nice head-to-head records against Sabalenka. Rybakina, Ostapenko, obviously also some of the players that have bothered Świątek the most. So it feels like the match is like both of these matches are very relevant for the event, but also, in itself, just amazing clashes. Of course, it's the seeds coming up against each other, so that probably, makes it a little easier as this is the first round that might happen. But both of these, absolutely, I had in mind. The other one was for sure Mboko against Zheng. I mean, the record that Victoria Mboko has this season, it's immaculate. She hasn't beaten an opponent like Zheng yet, but tomorrow it might be possible.
Yeah, Zheng, I still think pretty tidy at the moment. The serve's a wee bit all over the place. I think the level that she's bringing generally from match to match, it could be very close, but I would expect Zheng to get through it maybe in 3. I'll keep an eye on that one. It'll be pretty exciting. Never doubt a form player, as you say. She's got a lot of wins under her belt, but Zheng playing at her best should be okay.
Yeah, Mboko is definitely legit. I am super high on her, but obviously this is pretty tough. The 2 matches that she played against top 20 players before, they were pretty close. I suppose mostly the Badosa one in Miami. The Goff one in Rome was kind of like that scare or not scare thing that we talked about. Mboko took the opening set, but was never close again. So I suppose it wasn't a scare in the end. But I guess the 4th one that I was thinking of was probably Sabalenka-Danilovic. Danilovic defeated Collins for the 2nd year in a row. And maybe this is already the first threat. Like, we don't really have that much data or, not at all really in terms of Olga potentially being able to come up against Arina and trouble her. I can definitely see a universe where the winning machine, otherwise known as Arina Sabalenka, or word number 1, just demolishes her. With Tauson and Anisimova, it's a little different. The playstyle seem to fit the matchup better. But as a bit of a Danilovic fan, I'm definitely watching that one too.
Yeah, it should be good. As you say, it could be a damn squib. But fingers crossed, there's also the potential for that to be a really, really exciting one. I'm going to keep one eye on Iga as well. I think John had mentioned there in the chat that My Iga doubt before the tournament has been kind of quashed so far. Yeah, I'm still going to watch. I know you're not really a fan of watching Iga, especially at the French Open, I would imagine, Damien. But
for the first week, not really. But when it's big matches, yeah. And a big match is coming her way in the fourth round. So like, I was actually, I saw that comment from John as well. So I was gonna ask you about that, like what we've seen so far. How do you feel about the prospect of her playing Rybakina and especially Ostapenko?
I don't think we've seen that much. I guess before the tournament, I would have been like, yeah, she could have some tricky first rounds given how she's played recently. It's really just been not Iga in a lot of ways, and I suppose it's been pretty steady. So I feel more confident in her. But I think as soon as she's pressed again, there will be pressure that kind of comes to the fore, and I'm still pretty down on her, I've got to say. And I do think that who's our fourth round opponent again, Damien, please?
Who's
our fourth round opponent?
Rybakina or Ostapenko.
So it's that's obviously alarm bells immediately. We'll see how the third round goes between them. I think that's maybe just a cop out for me not to pick somebody actually. So I think if Ostapenko goes through, make it 6-0.
That would be 7.
7-0. Sorry, I missed one.
It is 6-0. Yeah. I mean, it would be like the ultimate, make or break type of match. Roland Garros win streak, head to head. These two clash, immovable and etc. So I mean, it would be an incredible story for sure, and that kind of just makes me root for Jelena. I really want to see it.
Honestly, if there's one person, obviously Iga's been so kind of like nervy in matches, kind of not trusting her weapons. If there's one person that's going to do that, oh my god, I'll definitely keep an eye on it if we do get that matchup.
Yeah, I think we mentioned Ethan Queen Ghosty. I talked about him being like almost secured for the top 100. Had a good 5-set classic against Shevchenko. Lots of breakpoint chances for Sasha in the latter stages of the fifth, but I can't say that Ethan didn't save most of them with like big serves, good volleys. There was one though where he was like kamikaze net rushing, and the player representing Kazakhstan right now definitely had a chance to pass him and kind of didn't. I keep forgetting. It's been like a year and a half only. Anyway, what else? By the way, the opinion on Paulini and Stardubtseva being on Philippe Chatrier?
Yeah. No, I mean, I kind of get it. I'm not against that, I guess. So you're defending finalists. Is that your argument, I guess?
I'm fine with Jasmine getting some respect as a Roland Garros finalist. I'm not one of these people who say that, why is Iga on Langland? Because you might remember that like a lot of players just play court 1/Langland/ Louis Armstrong/ whatever, right? I mean, Djokovic, Nadal, they still all mostly play one at least match during an event on a court like this. But Rybakina Ostapenko should be on Chatrier. That's just like no. I'm not saying that Iga should substitute it. I'm saying that Rybakina Ostapenko totally should. But
I do agree. But as always, most of the picks for the state matches don't tend to be on quality. There tends to be many other factors at play. So
it is many factors. Although in this case, I feel like the factors that they usually use to make these decisions, they're also suggesting that it should be Paulini with Rybakina Ostapenko. But either way, I think Paulini has already gotten Chatrier as well, right, against Tomljanovic. So, clearly they love her there as the defending finalist, who is also in the same part of she's in the same quarter as the defending champion, three-time defending champion, who is on Langland. But anyway, as I said, I'm more just irritated about Rybakina Ostapenko not getting that rather than Świątek Christian. I think that Świątek will definitely have another chance to play at this event, whereas Rybakina Ostapenko, that could be one of the matches of the event. But that's also not that important since in the end, as for us watching at home, who cares? We're just gonna turn on the stream.
There's a good argument to make, Damien. Apologies if this isn't the right time to segue, but there's a good argument to make that your best matches could come from the women's side tomorrow, rather than the men's.
I was gonna switch right now, so that's a very good time to say it. And I actually had a similar thought in mind.
There we go. Perfect. Took the words right out of your mouth. I would certainly. I think the first one that comes to mind is probably Corda TFO. Maybe actually siding with Paul Kachanov. Even then, both could be pretty poor. Actually, I don't know. It depends how TFO plays. Depends how Corda plays. The two of them are pretty prone to some tough performances. Paul Kachanov probably actually. Now I'm thinking about it, maybe excites me a little more. Kachanov, obviously, your kind of Iron Man at slams, does come out with these crazy runs. Had that kind of spell of like getting to how far was it in slams? Quarterfinals, pretty much. 4 or 5 and 4 in a row, something like that. Anyway, I could see him upsetting Paul there. Again, though, I'm saying all these matches out loud, Damien, and actually I'm not getting overly excited by them compared to the ladies.
Yeah, I think the ones you mentioned, I definitely don't want to watch. With Tiafoe Corda, I kind of have the similar thing as Fernley Nori. I think even though I'm like really not nationalistic and all, like I just don't really think it matters. Like I'll be excited by the next round when the player plays there, but it's an American coming up against an American. They're both okay. I don't really care either way who advances, to be honest, and that's the same for me with Nori Fernley, as I said. And Khachanov, Paul, just stylistically not players I tend to watch. I think before the event I would have picked Tommy for sure, but now siding with Karen after what we've seen, and Tommy mentioning he has some sort of an abdominal issue. So actually my favorite match is definitely R&D's ones. Probably, I mean, first of all, my favorite section in the draw, obviously, it has Medjedovic and Altmaier coming up against each other now to kind of like top it all off. And I do think that's a brilliant match. I'm definitely going to be following this one. The clash of styles should be nice. A lot of what Daniel has shown in the last 2 matches, very applicable here. And the first match where Hamad will not be able to mess around whatsoever and will be punished for his, 1,000 drop shots a set and all his stupid, too powerful forehands. And I think Musetti Navone should also be amazing, just in terms of how they can use like the court geometry, if you may. That has to be a treat. I just don't know if it will be a treat that lasts 2 hours or 4.
I think, I think having given it a bit of thought, I love watching Musetti full stop. Navone's one of those guys that obviously insane kind of backhand and stuff, and very, very exciting to watch. Maybe just for the Musetti factor, I might side with that match. With Navone hopefully putting up a decent fight, maybe we'll get a nice 4-set battle. I think with Medjedovic Altmaier, I don't know. I feel an Altmaier win. I feel like it's his time. He's obviously had a few chances at the French Open. He could just get blown off the court, but that's kind of my feeling. I'm going to side with him.
He's the smart pick. I have to agree. He's the smart pick. Medjedovic is the whoa, let's go pick. That's how I feel. But I made that pick a long time ago. I'm sticking with it. Future top 10er, Hamad Medjedovic.
Let's
go. But yeah, the smart pick is Daniel Altmaier, 100%. I actually have a very I don't have a good hunch regarding Medjedovic's performance, to be honest. But maybe I'll be wrong, and at the same time I'll be right. So that's actually the best way to do it. And also, Alice Rune, could this be as interesting as at Wimbledon? I mean, Quentin was 2 sets to love up there, had major chances in the 4th set tiebreak. Is this possible?
I would hazard a guess it's not going to be quite as close. Halys must enjoy the surface at Wimbledon far more than the clay, you would imagine, and vice versa for Rune. So it seems as though it's a little bit in the Danes' favour. Kind of siding with Rune recently has been a fool's errand, however. It just feels like he is not very reliable. He still has these great performances, and then as soon as you get high on him, he comes out with this crazy performance that just baffles you. So I don't know. I don't know what to do there. I'm going to side with Rune. Hopefully, I don't feel foolish afterwards again.
Yeah, I think Holger's like main goal during this event is basically to stay as healthy as possible, like expend as little energy as possible before playing Musetti in the 4th round. So far, I guess he's been okay on that front. So like if there's one more match like this coming, and at least against Alice, it won't be physical anyway. Like even if it's 4 pretty long sets, the points will be very short. So maybe it's a good one for Holger from that perspective. I would just love to see Musetti play Rune in the 4th round and both of them be, fully fit and fully ready for that encounter. And of course, Lorenzo, I'm a little more sure about. Similar thing, I guess, was with Fils for me, that like his main goal was to just stay as healthy as possible for the Sinner clash in the 4th round, to just make sure that he has at least a tiny chance. But well, right now it might be gone. Snehil, I mean, I'm not going to surprise you here. My finalists are just Sinner and Alcaraz. As for the winner, presently with what we've seen thus far, the last year or so in the rivalry, Rome, I don't think you can say Sinner. But ask me again before the final, and maybe something that I will see.
Totally. Yeah, I think there's a long way to the final, and a lot could happen with both guys. And I think it's difficult to side with Alcaraz so confidently, despite the fact it's obviously went his way.
It's still like a 55-45 or whatever, but you like right now where that edge is. Like you have to basically say that Alcaraz is the favorite, even if it's slight. Yeah. But that might change in a couple of days. Who knows? It's just like since the event began, it's just looking more and more likely that they will meet in that final. Like every single result just makes it more likely, because you've got Fils struggling with his back and playing for over 4 hours, so that's a potential threat out of Sinner's way. Davidovich Fokina, some people were thinking that he could trouble him. Ruud was going to be in Alcaraz's quarter, and of course Casper is okay. Yeah, horrible head-to-head. Probably wasn't going to touch him anyway, but still, that was someone who feasibly maybe could have done something. Giovanni Pecci Pericard in the 3rd round. That's a style that typically hurts the top seeds, right? So you're thinking maybe Carlos will struggle for a little there, and then he loses to Dzumhur. So like every single result we've had so far just makes it more and more likely that they're going to meet there. I guess as long as Musetti is in the event, I suppose you might have some issues, and Djokovic as well, and maybe Zverev. But Cerundo as well. Like that was someone who maybe if he makes the semis, maybe he pushes Yannick again. So I guess Zverev, Djokovic, and Musetti. Like if these 3 players lose before facing Sinner Alcaraz, I don't think there's another like possibility in the world that they will meet in the final. Oh, okay, Holger Rune as well, but just Holger winning 5-6 matches at the Slam still feels a little bit too much, but we'll see. Maybe. I mean,
these are the guys. I don't know. It does feel like pretty much what you said there. The rest of the pack are a wee bit away at the moment. It feels like it's 1 and 2, and then the rest of the guys. I don't know if that's harsh, but that's how it feels.
It's not. I'm just looking for a message somebody sent me today, because I felt like it was a good way to say it. And it was like these 2 are playing a different sport or something like that. Yeah, it's like the 2 of them play a different sport than everyone else, and I very much agree with that.
100% at the moment. I will hold my breath that there is a manic Djokovic performance possibly brewing. I still think you just don't know this guy. I'm sorry. People write him off and they're like, he'll never win another Slam. If he has a good run and he has a lot of energy in the tank, it's very difficult to just say this guy has no chance.
I think if he has to play both of them, I feel confident saying he has no chance. If he has to play one of them,
if he has to play both of them, it's like the big 4 all over it, big 4, big 3, whatever. It's like the big 3 all over again. You beat one out of the frying pan into the fire. You were never going to win the Slam, beating 2 of them.
I mean, that's the landscape right now. They've won the last 5. At least they are, 2 players, and previously it used to be 4. So there's always a better chance, I guess, for somebody to upset these 2. And we also don't know if they will have the same kind of longevity at the top. since that's probably also what made the Big Three / the Big Four what it was, that it just lasted 4 years. And we don't have that confirmation, of course, with Yannick and Carlos. Thankfully, I don't get too many dick pics, Ghosty, but well, it was easy for me to find the message. Novak is saying, okay, good show, guys. Let's wrap it up. And I think indeed this will be a good moment. So yeah, thank you, Jack. It was fun as usual. You guys probably noticed that today there was a bit of highlight, let's say, on the men's matches, but all the incredible stories were there. But we are both very excited for the women's tomorrow. Oh, okay. It might be. We can end the show. I mean, I was thinking you might say like, "Oh yeah."
Oh, sorry. I thought you were. I thought you were ending.
That's okay.
I was like, that was quite abrupt. Sorry. No. I agree. I agree. It'll be really, really good to watch all the matches tomorrow. I'm pretty excited. Not much more to say than that. I did think it was quite odd the way you ended the show there. I was like, that doesn't sound quite like you ended the show, but yeah, I just made an assumption. Apologies to me. Good to talk to you. I really enjoyed it. I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, speak to you soon. And I think with the producer, we'll probably close us out. Yeah, he will. Okay.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.